and then I'll talk a bit more about the actual challenge. But before I kick off, I just want to make sure everyone can hear. I have seen messages here. If anyone has any problems hearing, just send something in the chat. We're not that many people here, so if you have questions, do raise your hand or speak up a little bit, and then we can take your question immediately. Nate, over to you.
Thanks. So just to run us briefly through what the plan is today. So I'll do a quick presentation on Aura. I'll pass it back to Jesper, who will take us through an outline of the competition, following off the documents that are available online. And then we'll just have an open question and answer session for everyone, and we'll do some introductions there if these numbers stay small, so we'll have a chance to see who's on the call. So with that, I'm going to share my screen. Here we go. And just a second. I hope you're all seeing this. Okay, great. Jesper, are you seeing that okay? Great. Okay. The Ocean Risk and Resilience Action Alliance, as you all know, is hosting the Ocean Resilience Innovation Challenge. And our overall goal of the challenge here is to build the foundation of a marketplace to drive 500 million of investment into coastal natural capital. So just a brief few slides here on Aura itself. So Aura, the Ocean Risk and Resilience Action Alliance, it's a multi-sector collaboration with that aligning well with that overall goal of driving investment into coastal natural capital. And really the focus is quite niche. So we're looking for groundbreaking finance products that incentivize blended finance and private investment into regions and communities that need it the most. So really the most vulnerable regions and communities. Our overall target is to really help create this new marketplace that we've talked about, and to surface at least 15 novel finance products forming the foundation for this marketplace. And this challenge is the key really to surfacing those novel financial products. The context, I'm sure you're all well familiar with this, so I won't spend a lot of time on it, but we know that sea level and population density projections indicate that about 800 million people will be at risk from coastal flooding and storm surges by 2050. We know that insurers have paid out 300 billion for coastal storm damage, but this is really dwarfed by the amounts paid by the public sector and governments, by taxpayers. And we know that insurance significantly increases disaster recovery burden, or reduces disaster recovery burden. So 1% increase reduces the burden by up to 22%. So private financing for adaptation and resilience is still significantly underleveraged, but we know that private investment capital is available. I won't go into detail too much on the barriers, but there is certainly a lack of understanding of how investing in natural capital can provide a return. There's a still limited pipeline of really risk-adjusted investable projects to attract financing. Still limited data and modeling capabilities for people to really understand the ocean-derived risks and the sort of systemic risks that relate to ocean risk. Lack of enabling policies to shift investment away from more traditional gray infrastructure that often damages natural capital and coastal ecosystems, and a real shift, still ongoing need for investment returns to be available in a short time period. But I think we see that shifting now a bit with COVID, where people are looking a little bit longer for investment returns. So as an overview, the Ocean Risk and Resilience Action Alliance, it's a multi-stakeholder alliance of insurers, banks, governments, and ocean leaders. And we have funding from the Government of Canada secured, which is supporting this innovation, the Ocean Resilience Innovation Challenge. And the Secretariat is hosted across AXA, so the world's biggest insurer, Ocean Unite, and the Global Resilience Partnership. And there's all the members. You can see there the full members and the observers, which include the G7 and other organizations and some other countries. And that's what it looks like as a whole, just some of the logos there to put that in perspective. In terms of our priorities, so the Aura is really based off of 3 pillars. The first being practice and innovation. So how we can really build risk-adjusted, scalable projects that deliver a return on investment while increasing resilience to ocean-derived risks. Work on science and research, so how we can accelerate research and use data to better understand, analyze, and predict, model, and manage ocean risk. And then our work on policy and governance, where we really look to inform and advance ocean resilience policy, governance, private and public sector understanding. And we have a number of projects that we're funding under each of these different pillars, and you can find out more about those on the Aura website. And so with that, I will hand over to Jesper to specifically discuss the challenge.
Thank you, Nate. The 3 priorities that Nate mentioned on the last slide, we're in the first priority there. So it's about surfacing new innovation and help create this marketplace and find investable, viable services and products that fit into that category. In this particular challenge, we want to find and then help grow 6 to 10 solutions that build resilience in this way. We have a selection process, so everyone submits, and then we go through them, follow some criteria that are listed on the website and then the guidance notes, and then we pick 6 to 10 of these. The method we're using is one we've used before, successfully so, and we have supported over $35 million worth of investment into the resilience through the Global Resilience Partnership. Next slide, please. We launched it the 14th of October, and it's open now, so please do submit. We will aim to be ready and announce winners around New Year, and then mentoring and leadership, which I'll come to in a minute, will be carried out through February, April next year. The process, it's an open challenge. Anyone can apply, and we'll probably field a couple of questions on this in the Q&A afterwards. But anyone can apply. Doesn't matter if you are a partner to Global Resilience Partnership or Aura, with some caveats, which we'll cover. You can bring an idea. You can bring a mature idea. You can bring something that is a little bit more mature and tested already. Innovation builds on innovation, so you don't necessarily have to come up with something completely novel. Next slide, please. We've covered some of these already, but I'll just run through them. We will surface new ideas. As I said, completely novel and new ideas are great, but they can also be ideas that build on something that is already in place. We provide support throughout this process, and that support, we'll cover that on the next slide, I believe, but that support, just briefly, is to help you get better at what you do. No one knows what you do as well as you do. But we have a system whereby we look for gaps and issues and strengths as well. And we bounce with you various ideas of how to improve what you do and find refinements to your models and so on. And then we also help you align with potential partners and potential funders to scale it. We also want to drive more attention to the urgent need that this is. It's a major problem, as Nate covered, and you all know already. We want to get more innovation out there, so that's what we want to do through this as well, and encourage further investment. Help not only you get the funding by working on the models and so on, but also work with others to make sure that they see that this is something they need to support. Next slide, please. Here's the actual program that we put you through. It's a tailored support program where we work with you individually. Some of the programmatic features here are with you only and a mentor, and some of it are with you as a cohort. In the past, we've done this physically, and virtually. And we will see how we deal with the COVID situation now. Whichever way, it's not a problem. We can do this virtually. We start off by looking at you, the winners, and put you through a value chain driven viability analysis. Very briefly, we look at how well you understand and explain the problem and the context that you have, that you want to address. We look at your solution and look at how well that fits with the problem and your understanding of the problem. And then we help you define, and you probably have done this already to some extent, but we help you work with and refine the delivery mechanism. And once we've done that, we look at the action plan and a time frame to bring you all the way. We do know, and I say it again, we do know that you know your solution better than we will ever. But we're pretty experienced in this, and we can help you look at the problem and your solution in different ways and come with suggestions and find relevant partners and so on, and also encourage you, because it's pretty tough sometimes to be doing what you do. And we have all the respect for that. We look at the viability and the scalability of this. We look at the resilience, how well does it address resilience? And if you need any more ideation and innovation, we can work with that too. I already mentioned that we do networking with potential funders and potential partners. Sometimes people say that, oh, well, if I just had money, I would be able to scale this. That's true, often. And very often you also need other things and other partners and skill sets into the project development. We will help you with communication support that's offered to the winners. That is a campaign to raise awareness of what you're doing, as well as the overall thing, coming back to what the overall goal of this challenge is. And then what I find the most exciting, well, I'm excited about all of this actually, but the thing that really is close to me is we put you through a leadership academy where we focus on what you are and how you function in the group and how the group functions and how groups function in relation to each other. So that everyone in there at least sees various roles that you take on, various roles different groups have, the power dynamics that can happen sometimes between funder and receiver. We're aware of them, but we'll explore it a little bit more, and how you respond to these things, specifically you. And then in addition to that, we have support with monitoring and evaluation and the learning from that. That's through an online help desk. We have webinars throughout the process, and then we have one-on-one calls so that you become better at measuring and reporting on what it is that is important. I believe that's the last slide. So I would love to have some questions from one or all of you, actually. We're not that many. Nate, what do you think? Should we have a brief introduction and then go to the questions?
Yeah, I think that'd be great.
I'm just going to cold call you guys. I'm really sorry about that. But on the top of my list is Alejandra. Oh, Laura, you put your camera on. Why don't we start with you?
Yeah, sorry, I wasn't sure if my connection was going to hold, so I thought I'd put it now. So my name is Laura Canevari. I'm CEO and founder of Ithaca, which is short for Innovation Training and Adaptation in Coastal Areas. Mm-hmm. And one of our major roles is helping organizations accessing funds, by helping them meet the proof of concept of financial institutions and writing bankable adaptation projects. I've actually specialized on climate change resilience. I've got over 10 years experience on this field. My question is the following. So at the moment, I'm helping an organization specializing in coral reef rehabilitation who are interested to set up a fund to finance organizations in the circular economy that will put on investments that would reduce drivers of ocean degradation. Now, Broker Reef, which are my partners on coral rehabilitation, are great at doing just that, rehabilitating corals, but they're really keen on starting this fund so that we start investing in things that would reduce the drivers of ocean acidification, of ocean degradation, but also a percentage of that would go, as contribution to the rehabilitation efforts directly. Now, my question is, I'm a climate change specialist, they're coral rehabilitation specialists. We're really keen to set up this fund, and we understand how to structure it from an ESG and climate resilience perspective, but we're not like a financial institution. So I noticed that you say that you're also welcoming startups, that might become new to this. My question is, how much can, an organization that is not necessarily an FI, a financial institution, be a good candidate if this is primarily, to set up innovative finance mechanisms? I mean, we have the idea, but we don't have the financial expertise.
Should I go? Yep. I think you can definitely be a good candidate. You will define what the problem is and the solution, and I think what you described just now pretty much explains that. I think we would be in a position to help you along the process of defining what it is that you need, which might mean that you have it in-house and can sort of grow from there, or that you find the right partner, which we might also know, I have no guarantees, but for something like this. I mean, really, I see that you explain the first steps of a roadmap, and you need to take a few more steps. In many ways, that's just where we fit. So I would encourage you to do that. And it might be that something else comes in from some other applicant that also is relevant to partner you with.
Thank you for your answer, Jesper.
Yeah, and just to add to that, Laura, yeah, exactly it. I mean, I don't think we're expecting a lot of FIs to actually apply. What we're looking for is people with really innovative ideas who, we're trying to help them. And we can also, as through the mentoring process that'll be provided, we can pair you with mentors from, potentially financial institutions or others who have taken up and set up funds and bonds and other financial instruments that could actually help you through that process. So this is certainly the type of thing that we're looking for.
All right, great. That's good news. Thank you.
Thank you. Now I'm coming to Alejandra.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm sorry if my pronunciation is off.
No, that was perfect. Thank you. And nice to meet you all. So I'm with WWF Mexico, and I'm part of the climate change team, mainly focusing on climate change adaptation. And to date, my main focus is also on coastal areas. But I'm here representing also the oceans team and the finance team and the whole climate change team. And we're trying to come up with an integrated idea. But we only learned about this opportunity very recently. So we haven't, we're here to essentially get get started on our thought process. And I guess one of the questions that we have is you've already sort of mentioned this in your presentation, but if there's any preference in terms of how mature an idea might be, whether it's something that's already almost ready to be scaled up, or if something is just completely new and we don't have any infrastructure or anything, it's also valid. That's one of our questions.
Both are very valid. Not a problem. The way this support is structured allows for us to engage with ideas and people with ideas, as well as much more mature structures and so on. Either is fine, and we're experienced in working with both. So yeah, I would encourage you to apply even if you just have an idea.
Good, thank you.
What we'll look for is that you have a clear problem that you want to address. And if you don't have that, it's going to be much harder to sort of see, well, does this solution fit, or what is it that they want to solve? So it starts with what is the problem you're trying to fix. But if you can define that, definitely.
Great, thank you. And if I can go again, is there any limit or any size of the projects that you're thinking, or any size is valid as well?
I would say reasonable, but unreasonable. So it depends, right? It really does depend. It depends on what it is that you're trying to fix. I would suggest that you look at what is feasible, what would like conceivably be a viable kind of solution to this. That also gives us a bit of a hint on how well you have defined the context and the problem. You can't have a small solution to a big problem, if that makes sense.
Right.
So it needs to sort of match there. Yeah.
Thank you.
And I think ultimately, we'd love all of these to be, scalable, at a global level, but we obviously recognize that's not going to be a reality either. So, I think it's just about demonstrating impact, and within, what you're proposing and showing that it's a viable solution to the problem at hand.
Great. Can I pick Annie?
Sure.
Who are you?
Hi, I'm Annie Mendez. I am Multilateral Relations Manager for Conservation International. So this came across our radar actually just this morning. And so we sent it out to our climate finance and ocean finance people to see if there was any interest, but I wanted to join the call to get a better sense of what it was about, and kind of have more information to help them with kind of deciding if they're interested in applying for it. So
Great.
okay.
Thanks for joining.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having it.
Next one on my list is Erin. This is really unfair to just cold call people like this that I haven't even met.
Erin, I think you're still on mute if you're trying to talk.
Let's do, maybe we can ask Peter to present himself.
Hello.
Peter.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. How you doing? Yes, I'm the executive director of Future of Fish. We're a small nonprofit organization that works globally in small-scale fisheries. Our work is focused on not just environmental, but also looking at economic and social improvements. We take what we call a systems approach to solving small-scale fishery problems. So we take a human-centered approach and find ways to incentivize fishers and fishers community to come to the table. Often that is depending upon the situation and where we're working and the conditions, meeting people where they are. That could look at human development, financial inclusion, gender equity, the basic needs, technical capacity, technical assistance, capacity building, developing co-ops. We do this all around, that we do the human element components. We do supply chain financing as well. And we also look at some of the environmental. So how do we tie that to fishery improvement projects, marine protected areas? And so we have strategies, and fisheries is not mature enough to think about how do you finance all of those things through a single instrument. And I don't think it's going to be mature, but we look at how we bring financing into each of those components. So we definitely look at the human development side and microfinance and other MFIs type of financing for small businesses, SMEs. And then obviously supply chain finance goes to trade finance and more of kind of equity investments or loans. But then we also look at conservation finance. We're looking at conservation finance to how to solve problems in fisheries, which really haven't been very specifically applied to fisheries. And so we are by no means at a stage where we're looking at this problem in terms of, it's something that, we have fishery improvement projects and MPAs that are severely underfunded, as we probably all know here, and trying to find what are those solutions that can tie it to fisheries and create some types of return-seeking investments. And so how can we take MPAs and very specifically apply them to potentially fisheries and returns through fisheries is something that we want to look at, but have not yet started to pursue. And so our stuff is very early stage in terms of how to finance some of these environmental solutions. With fishery improvement projects, they're very much, they involve government, they involve fishers communities, but they are very much seen as industry driven, I would say at this time. So I guess my question would be, in the interest of our specific interest is looking at fisheries, and we do look at livelihoods and other opportunities. What's the, we're very early stage in looking at how we finance the environmental work that we're doing. Where does that lie in terms of focusing on a specific issue that's maybe tied to other solutions, I would say? And is that something that's attractive or too complex for something that you're looking at, where it is, the environmental solutions would be one aspect of a bigger strategy that we have? Our model is very much built on partnerships, and so we do bring in partners when we do our work. We're typically, our job is actually to bring in other resources and other partners to do work typically. So we find funding for them to do work in a bigger system strategy. So we also look for partners who are those finance partners within the environmental side of the work that we're doing. So I know that's there's a lot there. There's no specific question, and I don't expect you to be able to address it without knowing what those solutions are. But are those more complex solutions that start to bleed outside of kind of funding natural capital, so to speak? Are those interesting, or are they a little bit outside of the area of this focus?
It depends how far they bleed.
Yeah.
If they are, yeah, it depends. I mean, we're talking financial and insurance related products here. So it needs to be in that space. Then again, finance and insurance relates to a lot of different things. So the element of finance and insurance needs to be, that's what we're interested in looking for here, and how that addresses the underlying problem. It seems you have a lot of material on the actual problem and the context, which is great.
Yeah.
So it's what is the solution you're proposing, and how does that fit into this? And very often you know there's not one fix to a problem. It's multifaceted and complex. It really is. So it's how it sits there, and what you would submit here, how that relates to all the other bits. I think I know it's a vague response. I'm sorry, Nate.
Yeah, no, and I don't want to take too much time, but maybe for clarity, I assume if it was a specific mechanism that was introduced of like, we want to solve the environmental aspect of this, working with MPAs, and we want to, innovate off of those mechanisms that are investing in MPAs, that would be much more direct than we just want to look at what the solution is, obviously, which is probably less attractive. We don't really have a solution. We know we want to focus on environment, but we need to figure out the solution. You're not interested in fund or supporting that, I would assume, of like, how do we start to understand what the problem is to even think about what the mechanism might be?
Well, this challenge is designed for if you understand what the problem and the context is, and you have a solution, then we can help you explore more what the problem and the context is, and then match that with what the solution would be. And if there is a need for any ideation or innovation processes, we can handhold through that process as well and facilitate that to happen. But there needs to be something. So just to bring a problem and say we'd like to work together to find what the solution is, that's actually what this challenge is about, really. So to sort of see what we can harvest from big brains like yourself in terms of what those solutions would be, and then together refine them.
Excellent. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see here. Sydney.
Sydney's with us.
Okay.
Part of
Sorry.
our...
Yes.
Erin is the.
Erin.
She's back, or she is able to.
Sydney, I'm sorry for calling you.
Okay, well, just maybe. Go ahead, Jesper.
No, I was Erin. Please come online if you want. If you don't, I'm gonna stop calling you now. But let's see if there are any other questions from anyone. Yep.
And this is not necessarily something that we're going to be putting forward. Just wanted to explore your thoughts. I wanted to hear your thoughts about how you feel about blue carbon mechanisms and whether this would be of interest to you guys. In terms of course, understanding that we would have to link it to a very specific problem and how this approach would solve that issue, but just wanted to hear your thoughts and if you have them.
Yes, pretty. Mind if I jump in on that one?
No, go ahead.
So yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're interested in those as possible solutions. If you check out the Aura webpage, you'll see that we're supporting a project already with the Nature Conservancy on blue carbon resilience credits, and AXA and TNC and others have just released a study on that recently as well. So yeah, absolutely, that's of interest.
Okay, great, thank you.
And I'm very curious now, so please do submit something.
Anybody else? Any other questions?
If you come up with questions after this, feel free to email. Happy to jump on a call to explore your ideas and thoughts. And if you want to like stress test something, just like Alejandra just did, please don't hesitate to reach out. We're here. There's 3 more weeks, roughly, to apply. So you'll still have some time to explore those things and available.
Jesper, just really quickly, for questions, should we submit them to that same number that is provided for the challenge or the info@ocean?
Yes, that's a good place, and then we'll field it from there depending on what the question is.
Okay, good.
And just to let you all know, and in terms of next steps, so the challenge obviously closes on the 20th of November. Aura is involved in the Paris Peace Forum, and so we'll be doing a sort of a last blast out to quite a few people around the Paris Peace Forum on this challenge, and yeah, we'll then close it, and then we're aiming to do the assessments over about a month after the challenge, depending on how many applications we get, and then we would announce, as per the timeline in early January, the winners, and then look to mentor after that and go through the process.
Thank you.
Thank you. Unless there are any more questions, Nate, what do you say?
Yeah, I think that's great. And so this has been recorded, as we mentioned, and we'll put this up on the website for others to watch. And there was one in the morning we did as well with just a few people who joined too. So, but I think you've covered off. Nothing new came up in that wasn't really answered in this. So you don't need to watch that recording unless you'd like to. And that's I think that's it. We can end early. Everybody can get a bit of time back.
Very good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your
Thank you
attention.
very much.
Thanks, guys, and good luck.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.